built on strategic positions so that they could control and dominate their newly acquired territories, and none more dramatically than Dunamase. It could be seen for miles, so any soldiers that were garrisoned there had total control over the surrounding countryside. And when Isabel, the daughter of Strongbow and Aoife, married William Marshal, Dunamase was part of her dowry. So Dunamase passed from the kings of Leinster to the de Clares and on to the Marshals.
Dunamase was the seat of power of the kings of Laois. This site was then seized by William Marshal as part of his inheritance when he married the daughter of Strongbow, and the site was fortified by him. This would have been one of the important Irish lordships that he needed to nail down.
The thing that's interesting about William Marshal, when we look at his castles at Kilkenny and his rebuilding of places like Dunamase, you can see that Marshal is bringing in the newest ideas in castle design.
Overlooking the surrounding landscape, Dunamase was a formidable fortress. The huge structure included a great hall on the top of the peak, protected on three sides by steep cliffs. It would have been some job to make it to the top. The only accessible side was protected by a double layer of defensive walls, each with its own barbican or fortified gateway, both with their own murder holes and other clever tricks, and everything guarded by the archers up on the encircling curtain walls. So basically then, if you've managed by a stroke of luck to get through the outer bailey, across that ditch and the drawbridge, under the murder hole, past the two levels of archers that are here,
yeah,
you've then got to here, and then I'd imagine you're greeted by more archers.
Yes. You've got to imagine that this is a square-fronted gatehouse.
Right.
First of all, there are arrow loops firing in on either side.
So there would have been archers either side.
Here we have a portcullis slot, which is the sliding sort of grill. So basically, people on the inside can poke spears through and at anybody on the outside. Then as we walk back, then we have two arrow loops. I like these two because they're not directly opposite each other, so that the man who's in that chamber there doesn't accidentally shoot the man in the opposite chamber.
Very clever design. Well, and we're still not there yet.
No, we've still got to get up to the top there, the hall.
Right, off we go.
As far as I'm concerned, it's martial work dating to about 1210. You see this movement that we see right across Europe from, relatively simple castles before about 1200 to much more complex castles in terms of their defence, in terms of display after about 1200. So to me, as an archaeologist, that would be my feeling, that William Marshal was at the forefront of castle design in, you could say in Western Europe, and he brought many of those ideas to Ireland.
Strategically looking out here, Brian, it's so easy to see why they picked here.
So castles were being built, for defence as homes, but also for display. But we also seem to have, certainly in the 13th century, some sort of designed landscape around places like Dunamase. So it's also telling you something about the power and wealth of the castle owner.
While Dunamase seemed to be impregnable, by the mid-14th century, it had been abandoned. Quite why remains a mystery. Its brooding silhouette above the lowlands of Laois make it one of the most romantic historic sites in the country.
Both Isabella and William Marshal seem to have been a very effective couple. And I think she knew she had done well in the man that she'd married.
Marshal served 4 successive kings as Lord Marshal of England, and when he died aged 72, he was not only Earl of Pembroke and the Lord of Leinster, he was also the richest man in the British Isles. He and Isabel had 5 boys and 5 girls, but the 5 boys all died childless. Now, some people say it was because of a curse placed on them by the Bishop of Ferns, so the Marshal name died out. However, as successor to Strongbow and Aoife, William arguably did more to establish Anglo-Norman control in Leinster than any other man.